What's up, boys? Welcome to the final episode of the second quarter this week. We're going to go and talk about the MLB on this one. We're going to talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame results and the MLB lockout. We're going to discuss that a little bit. So, you want to get into it?
Yep, kick things off for the Baseball Hall of Fame. David Ortiz was the only one who was accepted this year with a 77.9% approval rating. I'm not sure if he should have been first ballot. Has the numbers as a designated hitter, not really so much as a first baseman. It has the most doubles, I think, or most extra base hits in MLB history, most doubles in MLB history. I believe 514 home runs. But like I said, I don't think he should have been first ballot, maybe second or third. But I don't know about first year.
Obviously, Bonds, Clemens, Schilling, and Sammy Sosa didn't get in on their final year, so it's going to go to like a veteran committee to get into like a different Hall of Fame. But I feel like Bonds should have made it. I know there's the whole controversy there with the steroids, but I mean, there's been accusations and stuff of David Ortiz doing them also. I don't know how much proof there is to it. I've never looked that deep into it, but I feel like if there's enough proof, you gotta like keep the same energy with everybody. I understand though, like just my opinion. That era where McGuire, Sosa, and all of them were just like the home run race era. Like that's what kind of brought baseball back to a lot of people. So I feel like they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame for kind of keeping the ratings up during that time whenever it wasn't as popular as it has been, and it's getting back to that point now. So you got anything to add on about that?
Yeah, so obviously, like he said, Bonds had 66% in his final year, Clemens 65.2% in his final year, Sammy Sosa 18.5% in his final year, and Curt Schilling 58.6% in his final year. Continuing with the steroids, Alex Rodriguez only 34.3%. Personally, for me, if you use PEDs or any kind of steroids during your career, I can't let you in the Hall of Fame. If I'm a baseball writer and I get a vote on your approval rating or your like vote yes or no for the Hall of Fame, if there's any kind of PEDs in your career, I can't do it. Like Bonds was top 3 actually hitter of all time without steroids. I feel like he would have been in that conversation without steroids, but with steroids, I mean, obviously he is the best hitter of all time in my opinion. But it's because he used those steroids. If he never used the steroids, especially around the time where like Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, like them, were just hitting absolutely monstrous home runs, he would have been treated like a Ken Griffey Jr. because Ken Griffey Jr., to our knowledge, has never done PEDs, and he's praised for it. He's praised for putting up those kind of numbers without PEDs, especially in an era where it seems like that's all everybody was doing.
Yeah. See, it really doesn't bother me that much. It kind of makes baseball more fun to watch. I love watching baseball anyways, but you want to see big home runs like that. You can't look me in the face and tell me wasn't entertaining watching Barry Bonds get walked with the bases loaded or just piping balls into McCovey Cove. Like, it was just fun to watch. And he kept ratings up, like I've said. Like, I just feel like you got to put him in. I personally would have put him in, but I'm not a writer.
I can't see it, man. I can't see you putting in someone who's essentially cheated. I understand everybody around that era was basically doing it, but I can't see you putting them in. Personally, for me, just because you cheated. That's what it comes down to. Is you cheated. Some other notable names that did not make it in this year: Scott Rowland with a 63.2% approval rating, and Todd Helton with a 52% approval rating. So I don't really see those guys making it in anytime soon.
Well, interesting thing about Scott Rowland, his percentages went up a significant amount each year he's been on the ballot.
That's true.
So
that's very true.
Here in the next year or two, I could see him getting in.
I don't think it's happening. I don't think he really had the numbers as a third baseman.
He was a great defensive third baseman, though. Wasn't a great hitter.
And it seems like that's all a lot of the baseball writers really care about is the offensive statistics.
Yeah.
I know, like with the Golden Glove and the Platinum Glove, offensive statistics, aren't really supposed to play into it, but it seems like every year they kind of do.
Yeah.
So that's what's kind of going on there. I want to put this out there: Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. Especially if you were going to let Barry Bonds in this year, you have to let in Pete Rose. Pete Rose was obviously gambled on baseball, has a lifetime ban from baseball, but he was a retired player. This is a player Hall of Fame. Obviously, you can make it as a coach as well, but this baseball Hall of Fame is mostly for players. And Pete Rose's career as a player, he's the hit king. He should make it in the Hall of Fame because he was gambling on baseball and he was coaching at the same time. But he was betting on his team to win. It's not like he was going to, his team is like, hey, we're going to make $10,000 off this game. If you guys throw, I'll give you a cut of the money.
Right. if you just vote him in as a player, you don't have to vote him in as a
don't
coach.
vote him as a coach.
Yeah, just
I don't. You know, he wasn't good enough to be voted in as a coach anyway. But as a
like,
player, absolutely, he 100% deserves to be.
yeah, vote him in as a player.
Exactly. So that's really all I have to say about the Baseball Hall of Fame. You know, there's guys in a few years who, you know.
I'm pretty sure Ichiro will be on the ballot here in like 2024 or 2025.
Yep, very soon.
Yeah.
When Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols' careers are over, I think they'll be first ballots.
Yeah.
Justin Verlander's career is coming to a close, along with Max Scherzer's as well.
Just
So,
with Adam Wainwright also.
Adam
if you
Wainwright
want to
as well.
debate him, but the thing with the Scott Rowland and the whole defensive stats with me, it kind of makes me wonder what they're going to do with guys like Nolan Arenado and Manny Machado and guys like that when they retire, because they're great defenders. I mean, obviously not the best hitters of all time. They're pretty solid hitters, pretty good hitters, but they're not amazing.
great hitters for the MLB right now,
Yeah.
but not, you know, all time. They might not crack the top 100.
Yeah, but they're great defenders, so it just makes you wonder what they're going to do with guys like that if they're doing this stuff like this to Scott Rowland.
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to talk about the lockout a little bit now. They want to increase like the minimum salary for players with like certain increments of service time, which I definitely understand because the minimum salary in the MLB is actually really low. Well, to them it's low.
I
To
believe
us,
it's 90,000.
Yeah.
I think right now is 90,000.
yeah. I
Which
think
is
that's
a
just for
significant amount of money for. I believe there's 1,264 total
yeah.
players.
See, I think that's just for like minor leagues and
Well,
rookie
yeah,
contracts.
including minor
though.
leagues.
Of like MLB service time, I think it's like 550,000, somewhere in that ballpark of MLB. If you have a decent amount of MLB service time, but they're also looking into arbitration. We're gonna explain arbitration a little bit more probably next week. It's kind of tricky to explain, and we don't want to take up a lot of time doing that. And then,
Well, to give you a little gist, basically after your rookie contract is up, arbitration is where the player sets the amount of money that they think they're worth, and the team sets amount of money that they think they're worth. And if they can't meet in the middle, then a committee goes to vote on how much they are actually worth, and then that's what they get paid.
yeah. And then they're also discussing like bonuses for the top 30 players, the players that finish top 30 in WAR. For those of you who don't know, WAR is wins above replacement. They want 105 million total in bonuses for those 30 players. So how they divide it, I don't know. If they did equally, it'd be like I think $3.5 million per player in top 30. But they could also like do it like based on how high you were, like number one gets the most money and so on and so forth, all the way down to 30. So what are your opinions on the lockout?
The whole arbitration thing, we'll get into that a little bit later, like maybe next week's episode. As far as the league minimum and veterans contracts and rookies contracts, I believe that probably should have a little bit of a pay increase. I understand MLB baseball doesn't bring in the revenue that it used to, like when, you know, back in the 90s when everybody was hitting monster home runs, but it still brings in quite a bit of revenue for you to, you know, bump players' salaries up.
Yeah.
As far as the whole WAR thing goes, which is the wins above replacement, which is how many, on average, how many wins that a starter has above their backup, essentially. I don't really agree with that one. I understand maybe if it's for awards, like MVP, you know, they get a certain amount, you know, Delivery Man of the Year, Cy Young, stuff like that. But as far as the wins above replacement, 105 million seems like quite a bit of money for that. I don't think they're going to agree on that one anytime soon.
Yeah, well, the MLB countered with $10 million, and I think it's just way too far apart, and it's just not going to happen in the time they need for the season to start on time. Because for the season to start on time, it would have to be within like the next 10 days or so for them to report to spring training. That's when they would have to come together and agree on something for the season to start on time. And I just don't think it's going to happen with how far apart they are on money. So
yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, from the time that spring training starts to the time the regular season starts, well, they're designated to start anyway. It takes about 2 months. So, you know, we're looking at maybe like a June or July start for the MLB season, which will be the second time in 3 years that we've had to do that, because in 2020, you know, there was obviously COVID and they didn't start until I think it was June. And
Yeah,
they only played 60 games that season. So we might be looking at another shortened season this year. Obviously very upsetting for baseball fans all around the United States. Just because, you know, I mean, you're supposed to have 162 games this year.
and it's definitely unfair to those teams that could compete, because 60 games is not enough in baseball, because anything can happen in baseball. Because you can't just, like, it's like in football, you can just knee the clock out. Basketball, you can just dribble it out and get fouled and like, get free points off free throws to extend the lead. But in baseball, you have to throw to the other team. You have to give them a shot. And
yeah, you have to get 27 outs.
And if something crazy happens, you end up losing that game. And I understand, well, it was their fault they lost. But when you're used to playing 162 games, one game shouldn't matter as much as it will when you're playing 60.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's unfair to the players, but this is what they want, and I do agree with them on the minimum and everything. I think they should get their bonuses. Maybe not as much as they're asking, but they should get their bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not looking good for baseball to start on time this year.
No, absolutely not. And me myself, I've already purchased tickets for quite a few baseball games. So I may get refunded, may get scheduled to another baseball game. So very upsetting for baseball fans all across the United States. Hopefully that they reach an agreement very soon.
Yeah. See, I was gonna buy tickets to the 3-game set for when the Padres come into Cincinnati because I wanted to see that, but it's in April and I doubt they're gonna be started by then.
Yeah,
so
there's no way that it's gonna be ready by then unless they reach an agreement. Some miraculous way they reach an agreement
in the
within
next week. Yeah,
next few days. So I think that's going to conclude our episodes for this week. We'll probably be including baseball a little bit more in our further episodes.
And if y'all want to see any other sports, just DM us on Instagram, either our company page or our private pages. They're both attached. So just get a hold of it.
Comment down here.
You can comment on YouTube. Comment on one of our Instagram posts what you want to see. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this week.
Yep. All right. And we'll see you guys next